Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Vicente,
And this is Izzy.
and welcome back to the IB Podcast, Episode 2. Now, before we get on about the topic of this episode, I just want to give a huge shout out to all of our supporters, mainly to my old Save Mart coworkers, Christine and Caitlin. You guys reached out, and you love my podcast. I appreciate it, and I miss you guys, and I hope life is going well. And to my whole family who listen to this, Viva la Raza. I know you guys are going to get a laugh out of that. Just the amount of love I got for this podcast, our first episode, me and Izzy appreciate it so very much. And to my coworkers, to David, Gabito, Jose, Jeff, Angelica, Johnny, and Daniel, a lot more people I can name. Thank you for just saying you love my podcast, for asking for the link so you can share. And to anyone who I didn't mention, I just want to give another shout out to Chris. He's an old friend I met on the PS4 when we used to play Friday the 13th. Just whoever is listening, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I didn't think we would get this much love from the podcast. I cried about it the other day. Yes, men can cry. Just because I made a joke in our first episode talking about how this episode's probably only gonna get 5 to 6 views, but we have 127 views as of right now, ladies and gentlemen, and 23 subscribers, and I can't thank you enough. I know Izzy has some things she wants to get off her chest, so Izzy, go ahead.
Yeah, we did not think that it was going to blow up this quickly, so from the bottom of our hearts, we just wanted to say thank you guys for the support, and we hope that we are doing your due diligence to keep you guys listening.
Yes, and we're very excited of the future of this podcast, and so without further ado, let's get on with the topic of this episode. So today, we're going to be going over top 10 underrated horror movies. Now, this is just a personal list. This isn't bashing any other horror movies. This is just a list that me and Izzy came up with and that we just love and just randomly picked. So bear with us. If we have another list that you want us to check out or recommend to others, please leave it in the comment section below. Now, let's get it on. Now, for some of these movies, me and Izzy are going to be talking about together. Some movies I'm going to be talking about, and some movies Izzy will talk about. Just because the other was a little bit more passionate about this movie, we still love all these movies the same regardless. But some we just loved a little bit more and can do a better understanding of it. Okay, let's get on with the list. At number 10, me and Izzy literally just got done watching it a few minutes ago, and it is Barbarian. Now, Izzy, you start off with it.
Alright, so this movie is not what it seems. At first, it seems like an Airbnb gone wrong, but let me tell you, it's crazy.
Yeah, this movie isn't what you think it is. This woman goes out of town for a job interview, fucking God knows how far away. She rents an Airbnb for the night. But then she realizes that someone else rented it on the same night and day. And so they're kind of forced to stay the night together until the next morning they can figure things out. But the Airbnb has a lot of dark secrets within it. And holy crap, this movie's going to scare the crap out of you. And it is hard for me to get scared from a horror movie. Even jump scares don't even bother me that much. Jump scares are annoying to me, but this movie will generally terrify you really, really bad. That's all I can say about it. Izzy, if you have any last thoughts about it.
This movie does not use jump scares. It's just overall very creepy. It's your traditional horror movie.
And it's very original, and I love the hell out of it. Now, number 9 on our list, I'm going to take over because this is a movie from my childhood. Number 9, 13 Ghosts. The movie is about a single father who loses his wife in a house fire a few years before the movie begins. And he's left with 2 kids who are very unappreciative of him. But then one day he gets a visit from a lawyer that's close friends with his uncle who recently just passed away. And in his uncle's will, He's left him a glass mansion. Now, a mansion in the middle of the forest, a little weird, but you know what do I know about mansions? Fucking, I just live in a normal house. And so this mansion is beautiful on the outside and the inside. It's just this big glass mansion. But as he slowly explored the mansion more, they realized this mansion's from hell. Like, literally from hell. Like, there's no way to describe this movie without spoiling anything. And just a note, we're not going to spoil plot points for these movies. Just go in blindly and watch these movies. Anyways, back to 13 Ghosts. They go into the basement and they find out this house is filled with ghosts. And not just Casper ghosts. These are ghosts that want to kill you. And there's a reason why they're there. And I remember as a kid, there was this one ghost in that movie called the Juggernaut that still scares me to this day. Holy crap. The practical effects in this movie are top notch. The makeup is done very well. The kills in this movie are some of the most gruesome I've ever seen. Go check it out. And plus, it has Matthew Lillard, the guy that plays Shaggy in Scooby-Doo. What more can you ask from this movie? Now, number 8, I'm going to let Izzy take over because this is the movie she loved.
Alright, so we're going to start off for our number 8 on the list, which is Hereditary. This is an A24 film, and it starts out with the grandmother passing, and because of this, the mom gets really into paranormal stuff. And you guys know, when it comes to paranormal stuff, you don't mess with it. Don't pick up the Ouija board. Just don't do it.
Quick disclaimer, I straight up told Izzy one day, I'm like, I love you, babe, but if I ever found out you used a Ouija board, I'm leaving you. Hell nah, you can mess me with that BS right there.
Yeah. So because of the paranormal stuff, she starts to think that she's becoming a medium, and it just gives the movie a very eerie film throughout the entire thing.
And I will say, there is a scene in this movie that's going to scare the crap out of you. Maybe not scare, but you're going to be like, what the hell? Like, I remember when it first happened, I kind of laughed, and Izzy, just her mouth fell to the ground. But when I laughed, it wasn't like a ha-ha. I thought it was funny. It was more of like a nervous. Like, without spoiling it, just watch that movie. Just go ahead, watch it.
Just watch it. Don't trailer it, just watch it. It's going to be a lot better that way.
And now, our number 7 on my list, I'm going to talk about number 7, Jordan Peele's Nope. Now, this is a movie where I see very mixed feelings on it. Some really love it. Some say it's Jordan Peele's best work. I disagree. I think Get Out's better, but we're not talking about Get Out. That will be a different video for another day. Some people hate this movie because they didn't understand it. And I get it. I understand what the movie was about. But honestly, you can just watch this movie as an alien movie. The premise is simple. The premise is just basically about this UFO or alien-like thing that's terrorizing this small farm town. I'm not going to say like how the story evolves or anything, but I recommend it. Jordan Peele is starting to become a horror classic legend. You know, he's getting up there with Ridley Scott, Wes Craven, and John Carpenter. Like, he's killing it in the horror game right now. You know, especially with this movie. I can't wait to go see his next installment. God knows when that's going to happen. You know, me and Izzy have watched it a couple times, and we thought the honeymoon phase for this movie would be over. No, we still love it. Yes, there are things I do wish they can cut out or just trim up a little bit to where, like, some humor can go away, but honestly, it's a solid film. I'd give it an 8.7 out of 10. So I'd recommend go see Jordan Peele's Nope. Don't watch a trailer, just go in blind, and you're gonna love it. Just watch it as a normal alien UFO movie, and you won't be disappointed. Now, number 6, Izzy will take over.
Alright, so number 6 on the list is another A24 film, which is Midsommar. It starts out with a group of college kids going to a foreign country, going to learn and explore culture with a buddy, At first, this movie seems super innocent. It seems just like a bunch of random college students. It's your typical college life movie. But as it goes on, it definitely gets a lot more weirder. And even though this is a slow burn type of movie, by the middle of the movie, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, like let's just say this movie teaches you don't mess with strangers or even talk to strangers. You know, like how mommy and daddy told you don't talk to strangers. Yeah, this movie teaches you that lesson really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there were some scenes in that movie that still kind of disturbed me. Not a lot like some, but like even Izzy had to ask me, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, this movie is very, very creepy, but like in a good creepy way." Florence Pugh is becoming one of my favorite female actors, and she does an amazing job in this movie, being scared, being happy. And Izzy talked about it. I'm gonna let her talk about it. Something about just going blind.
Yeah, so this is I know a lot on the movies of the list were like saying going blind, but this is one I think for sure you guys should go in blind with, especially with how the trailer is. It's gonna be a lot more of a spookier experience if you go in blind.
Yeah, perfectly said. All right, so number 5 on our list. This is one me and Izzy are gonna talk about. Number 5, The Menu. Izzy, start off.
Alright, so the menu starts off with a girl and her boyfriend going to an island to go to a exclusive dining experience with this famous chef that the boyfriend is very much into.
Like how we look at Gordon Ramsay is a big chef icon. Like anyone knows who Gordon Ramsay is. That's basically how this chef is in this movie. But if you like critique his food pretty bad, or you're just an asshole, he might stab you. And let's just say this movie goes 0 to 100 really, really quickly. Like, holy crap. Like, there's a reason why everyone's there at that exclusive dining experience. And even our main female lead, our final girl, she has secrets of her own.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what they are, but this movie was talked about a lot. It was on my radar. It was on Izzy's radar, but we just didn't have time for it. Or we'd just be like, nah, let's watch something else. Let's watch like South Park or Family Guy or something like that. But then our friend Erica came over one day and she recommended it. We watched it. Izzy loves it. I love it. Erica loves it. It's amazing. It's probably one of the best horror movies that have come out last year that no one noticed at all.
Yeah.
And bonus fact, the chef in that movie, I guess you could say main antagonist. He's not an antagonist to me, but the main chef in that movie is Voldemort from Harry Potter. That's a fun fact. Like throughout this movie, I kind of made a lot of Harry Potter and Voldemort jokes. So Izzy was laughing, but then she got pretty annoyed quickly.
I did not. I love hearing your jokes.
Yeah, I can. They're a little cringy though. Let's just say that.
That is true, but I love it.
All right, so number 4. This is one Izzy loved. She's gonna take over.
All right. So number 4, we have *Malignant*. So this movie starts out with a woman who has visions of people getting murdered, but instead it ends up happening in real life. So it kind of turns into this whole medium thing, but trust me, you want to watch this.
Yeah, like I will say, the killer is original as hell. I'm not gonna say if it's a supernatural film, if it's a science fiction film, if it's just a normal serial killer film. Like, it's a story where you're not going to guess at all correctly. Just like Barbarian, you're not going to guess correctly. And when it happens, the payoff is so worth it. And, A24 is killing it in the movie business, in the horror movie business. Let's give love to them. Malignant was good. We kick ourselves for not seeing it in the theaters. But, that's what happens when a lot of these big time movies want to get promoted more than these small indie horror movies. So we got to change that up.
Yeah.
So Malignant, I loved. I wouldn't mind rewatching it again. I think one day me and Izzy will do more of an in-depth review of it, a spoiler review, so keep in tune for that.
Definitely.
Alright, so now we're at our top 3. Now, 4 through 10, those movies we love just as equally as the other. We don't hate one less more or anything like that. But our top 3, these are top 3 that we would, if we were forced to choose only 3 movies from these lists, these are the movies that we would choose. So starting off with number 3 is Scream 3. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole Scream lore right now. And yes, this is the only sequel on this list, but I'll get to it in a bit. But if you really want to learn more about the Scream lore, the Scream franchise, in a couple weeks, I think 2 weeks to be exact, me and Izzy are going to do a Scream ranking before we go see Scream 6 and do a review on that. So me and Izzy will provide a more in-depth for Scream 3 and just anything in the Scream series, basically. Okay, so Scream 3. I used to really, and I mean really hate this movie. I didn't like that Neve Campbell, the main character from the entire series, was barely in this movie. I think she only had like maybe freaking 3 to 5 minutes screen time. Like, you can't do that to Sidney Prescott. You know, no disrespect to David Arquette or Courtney Cox. You know, I love him as Dewey and Gale. But come on, this is Sidney. This is a Sidney series. You know, the killer reveal, I hated. I thought it was kind of whack and kind of ruined the original trilogy. And they have this voice changer. Anyone who knows Scream knows that the killer uses a voice changer. This one in Scream 3 is still stupid to me. Regardless of how much I love Scream 3 now, the voice changer, this voice changer gives you the ability to mimic someone else's voice perfectly, which is total bullshit because even that technology doesn't even exist in our time right now. Yes, we have deep fake videos and stuff like that, you know, that can, and AI voices that can mimic some voices perfectly. But come on, like dead on accurate, I call BS on that. But anyways, you know, as years go on, I still hated the movie, and it wasn't until I started rewatching them with Izzy that I'd grown to love Scream 3 a little bit more. You know, I still think it's the weakest in the franchise, but if your horror franchise's worst movie is basically a Scream 3 level event, you're doing pretty good. And I'll always say there's not a bad Scream movie per se, you know, but this one is definitely the weakest. But it has aged like fine wine. The basic plotline of this movie is like sexual harassment and rape in the Hollywood industry. And back then, because this movie came out in 2000, that wasn't really a hot topic as it is now. And it's sad to say that this movie does get a lot of that stuff right. You know, a lot of actors and actresses have come out recently and said that they were abused or sexually harassed by producers and directors to get a big role. And honestly, I can see it. If you pay attention to a lot of movies, you can see which actors and actresses like basically become sex symbols and get harassed. And it's, to me, it gets disgusting after a while, you know? So anyways, before I get off topic, so yeah, I've come to love and appreciate Scream 3 a lot more than I did before. So I'd recommend Scream 3, but watch the first 2 before you watch Scream 3. Now, number 2, Invisible Man 2020. Now, this is a remake of the classic Invisible Man 1933 from Universal Pictures. And I'm not even going to get into the plotline of this movie just because it's very hard to explain it without spoiling it. But holy crap, I'm so glad me and Izzy got to see this movie before quarantine happened, because it came out a week before quarantine, you know, when 2020 was a big old thing, you know, before we all got locked in our houses. You know, it was the last big movie to come out, and holy crap, this movie is amazing. I don't know how else to describe it without spoiling it. You know, Izzy loved it, I loved it, the scares were good. Izzy, do you want to add anything to it?
This movie definitely deserves more credit than it got. And one of the scariest things about this movie is how realistic this movie was and could be for some people.
Yeah, and like what we mean by realistic is that this movie does touch upon like abuse from partner, toxic relationships, you know, and so if you're triggered by anything like that, just skip out on this movie. No shame in it. We're not. And besides that, this movie just got overlooked. Like when quarantine happened, a lot of people just forgot this movie existed. So I love to tell people check out Invisible Man 2020. It is awesome. And I hope there's a sequel to it. I don't know how they'll be able to do it, but I hope somehow they can make a story for it. Now, we're at our number one, and I'll let Izzy do the honors. Okay, so number one, Ready or Not. Izzy, you want to start off?
Sure. So, with Ready or Not, this is another indie film, and basically, the female main character marries into this family, and on their wedding night, she has to choose to play a game.
Yes, and for this family, it's a tradition to play a game if you're marrying into this rich, wealthy family. It could be chess, it can be checkers, hell, it can be Chutes and Ladders or Twister. But our main protagonist, she has the unfortunate event to pull out the hide and seek card. And let's just say this is going to be one hell of a wedding night.
The deadliest game she's ever played.
Yep. We're not going to say why they're trying to kill her or why she's being hunted, because that's a big ass plot in that movie. And this is another one, like Malignant and Midsummer. Go in blind and see it. Like, it's really good. Like, me and Izzy kick ourselves for not watching this movie when it came out in theaters, And it's the same people that made Scream 5 and Scream 6. And I'm going to be honest, Radio Silence is also killing it in the horror business too. It's good. Like, I don't know what I can say about Ready or Not. Without getting too spoilery about it. The kills in this movie are good. Practical effects are good. And the ending is probably one of the best endings I've seen in horror history. Samara Weaving, who plays the main protagonist, she's an amazing up-and-coming actress. Izzy, you want to add anything?
I would. If you think your in-laws are bad, they're not.
Oh, yeah. The in-laws in this movie are going to make your in-laws look like the sweetest people ever. So if you see your in-laws and you think they're horrible, watch this movie and you're going to be like, you know what? Maybe my in-laws aren't that bad and they're not trying to kill me over a stupid hide-and-seek game.
Yeah. So we want to just say thank you guys for listening.
Yes. So that concludes the end of our top 10 underrated horror movie list. Check it out. If you have if you have an opinion, if you don't like any of these movies, let us know. If you have a different list, let us know. We want to interact with you guys. We want this podcast to be big. And me and Izzy talked about it. If this podcast gets to 2,500 subscribers, we're at 23 right now. If we get to 2,500, we're going to start making shirts with our logo on it. I didn't think this podcast would get big with a lot of people. And it warms me and Izzy's heart with all the love that you've shown all of us, And we can't wait to show you what we have planned, what the future is, Regardless of how this podcast ends up being, whether it gets big or small, I'm proud to say that I did it. I just want to say another thank you to my beautiful fiance Izzy, to everyone who's reached out to both of us and said they loved our podcast. It means a lot to me. I'm trying not to tear up right now. I'm trying to keep it good, but just thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I love doing this podcast. Now it's like, besides boxing, I look forward to doing a podcast episode. I hope this thing gets big because I want nothing more to do than talk to all of you about horror movies, comic book movies, comics, Star Wars, sports, anything that you guys want to talk about. If you guys have any ideas, leave them in the comment section below. Me and Izzy will leave our Instagram profile links in the description and in the comment section so you guys can follow us, because next week we have another big episode planned. This Saturday, it'll be a small episode about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We hope we like it just as much as the first time we watched it. Izzy, do you think we will?
I think I will.
Yeah, I'm starting to see some problems with it, but who knows? maybe I'll still love it as much as the first time I loved it. You know, I only liked it because I love King the Conqueror. King the Conqueror is probably my most favorite Marvel villain in all of comic history. He is a very good villain if you know how to use him. Just like Doctor Doom and Galactus. I'm gonna say it, they are better than Thanos. I'll take them over any time of the day. So yeah, next week episode is gonna be horror villains versus live action heroes. So every horror monster that you've seen, like Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, we're gonna do a March Madness type of bracket where one side is gonna be horror duking it out to see who's the champ in the horror side, and then on the other side of the bracket, we're gonna have Marvel and DC live action heroes duking it out to see who's the king of that side, and then we're gonna have the final two warriors fight it out. It's gonna be awesome. And just a disclaimer, we're not gonna use Thor, we're not gonna use Superman, we're not gonna use Deadpool, and we're not gonna use Flash because one, they can't die. And I mean Flash can technically die, but he's faster than the speed of light and he's super fast. He's gonna be able to see your attack coming before you can even blink or even think about it. So that would just be stupid. We're gonna stick to live action, you know, underpowered heroes from Marvel and DC. So follow us on our Instagram because we're gonna be posting the bracket on our Instagram stories, you know, and keep you guys updated and let us know of any future ideas you want for this podcast. You know, I'm gonna talk to Izzy about it. I think for one episode, we want to do like a question and answers type of episode where if you have questions for us, you can ask us and we'll answer all of them, or even leave it in the comment section. We'll leave notes. We'll write them down. Everything. We want to interact with you guys as much as possible. Anything you want to say?
I just want to let you guys know how much that we appreciate your support over the past week. And if, like Vicente said, if there's any ideas you have, please drop them down in the comment section. We would love to hear it. That's our goal, is we want to just show you our passion and hopefully maybe spark some passion into you.
Yep, you know, and I'm going to say this. If you're someone who's scared to show their love for horror, comics, or anything, don't be. Don't ever be ashamed of what you like. Unless it's drugs or something bad, then, you know, don't do that. You know, like, I love the love that horror and comics are getting, but it just sucks that it couldn't happen earlier when I was a kid because I got made fun of for liking comic books, for Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and horror. But you know, I'm glad we live in a time now where it's becoming popular. You know, so for anyone out there that listens that's scared to admit they love these type of things, don't be. Don't ever be ashamed. And follow this podcast because this is a haven for everyone who wants to be a nerd. You know, we're never gonna judge you. We're never gonna bully you. And if you pick on someone for being excited of what they love, shame on you. Shame on you. You don't ever make fun of someone that loves what they're doing or love a certain type of story like Star Wars or comics or anything. You just don't. Because at least they're doing something about it. You know, that's all I gotta say. Don't be an asshole. Just show support to everyone. And don't ever be afraid to show your love for a lot of stuff. You know, with that being said, thank you for listening to our podcast. Me and Izzy love you all so much. Be good people. You guys have a good weekend. Take care. And peace out.
Bye, you guys.